Night Became Day, posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by J.W. Graham Jr. Hi all, this is my first Glitch in the Matrix post, and I will start with an odd experience I had as a child. When I was a child, yes, I read and understand Rule 7, we lived in a lakefront home in Lake Mary, Florida, USA. The lake was Little Lake Mary, which is approximately 52 acres. Our house was on a bit less than 1 acre of land. During spring and summer months, my older sister and I, or some friends, would camp out in the backyard. The backyard generally sloped toward the lake at a minor angle and was mostly sand and grass with various mature trees such as pine trees or maples. We would generally put up a couple of tents and sleep in sleeping bags. Backyard camping usually involved building a small campfire and telling ghost stories or stargazing. On one particular night, my sister and I did all the usual stuff, roasting marshmallows at the campfire, telling stories, fishing along the shore, etc. I don't remember the exact date, but this was in the early 80s and during the summer months. At some point near midnight, we were collecting small sticks to keep our campfire going. We were both in one section of the yard near some tall pines. Suddenly, it became bright as day outside. Imagine being in the dark of night, hearing crickets and other bugs chirping and making noise, and then being thrust into total full sun brightness. At the moment it became day, all the night bugs stopped making noise and it was very quiet. Nothing felt odd or strange except that it took a moment to get used to the brightness. My sister and I looked at each other in shock and disbelief. Keep in mind that I'm looking across a lake and able to see fairly far away. Everything was bright in all directions, just as if a switch had been flipped to turn night into day. In less than a minute, I would guess 45 to 60 seconds, it was night again. There was not a light source we could see creating this brightness. Everything was naturally illuminated in all directions as if it really were daytime. I don't recall looking for or seeing the sun, and I don't remember whether the sky was blue like it is during the day. At some point, we retired to our tents and woke up around normal sunrise, which was around 7 a.m. I remember us researching this. There was no internet at the time, only encyclopedias and books, and coming up with no good explanations. The closest we came to an explanation was false dawn or zodiacal light. However, this didn't seem to be the phenomenon we witnessed. I do recall William Corliss mentioning a similar phenomenon in Lightning, Auroras, Nocturnal Lights, and Related Luminous Phenomena, but I have long since lost that book. Another explanation could have been a hypnagogic dream, but we both experienced it and were definitely awake at the time. It would be very interesting if there was documentation of someone else seeing this. Non-prosaic explanations are purely speculative. The cycle of day and night is due to the rotation of the Earth. Thus, it is impossible for day to become night and night to become day in terms of the physical position of the Earth and its axial tilt relative to the Sun. As such, a possible explanation is a momentary time reversal or time warp from PM to AM or to another time altogether. Besides that, I don't know. Back to the story. Our parents didn't believe us in the morning. After a period of weeks, we eventually forgot about it, but I have filed it away mentally as one of the strange things I have seen. I recently asked my sister about this, and she remembered it in vivid detail.
Auditory Glitch, Unknown Source, posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Saint Olurzi. Throughout my life, I've experienced some unexplainable circumstances that personally define what I consider a glitch. I thank my luck that typically I'm not the only one around when it happens, otherwise I'd feel that I'd question my sanity on a regular basis. The particular instance that I'd like to share is what I believe to be an auditory glitch. Again, I wasn't alone here. My girlfriend and I had decided to take a short break. I invited her over to reconvene, and we spent the majority of the night talking and watching old movies. Finally, we were getting ready to pass out, and I decided, for once, to be a gentleman. I didn't want to make her feel any pressure since it was the first time we hung out in a while. So I gave her my bed and sat up on the couch in my room to go to sleep. Now, at the time, my parents both sound asleep upstairs, and my stepbrother was out with the friends for the night. We slept for roughly 2 hours, and I'm woken up by a deep voice belting my name. I started to shrug it off and glance over to the bed. My girlfriend is sitting bolt upright and asked who's calling me. Figuring it was my stepdad, although strange for that hour, I walk out of the room and go upstairs. All the lights are off and it's dead silent. I return downstairs in utter confusion and share with her the lack of life currently existing in that hour. It got to us a little bit, to say the least, so we went back to bed without further discussing it. The following morning, she brings it up. I think, great, now I can't chalk it up to a dream. That's the only time that's happened, but I've had a few other strange things happen in that house when I lived there, and plenty elsewhere. This was the only defined auditory, though. I have a hard time defining paranormal apart from glitches. Does anyone else suspect an overlap?
Missing half an hour. Posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by the General 01. So once my mate and I were walking to the pool for our water polo game, and we had left early so we could warm up well before the game. We looked at our phones, more than one, and we had 40 minutes of extra time before warm-up. Almost exactly after that, we saw a car with a cone on top of it, top banter. So we took a photo of it, one photo. I then looked at the time and we now only had 10 minutes until warm-up. Neither my mate nor I have any idea where the time went, and we are 100% sure of what the time was on both occasions. We also know we spent at most 5 minutes at the car with the cone. This is my only experience of a glitch in the Matrix.
Bird's shadow faded away. Posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Immortal Ecstasy. I was outside having a cigarette. It was nice and sunny, and I was looking through the large driveway arch next to my house that leads to a set of old flats. There was the shadow of a bird flapping. It was right in the middle of the wall. Sunshine everywhere, no other shadows for it to disappear. And as I was watching it, it just faded out in the space of a wing flap and didn't return. I know there are much bigger glitches on this subreddit, but I have no explanation for it. When did I see that movie? Posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Palomel. In 1998, my family took a summer vacation to visit my aunt and cousins in Colorado. I was 14 at the time. We drove across the country for 3 days, stopping to see the Gateway Arch in St. Louis along the way, and got there on a Thursday. The first night we were all too tired to do anything, so we hung out at the house, played a few games, and went to bed a bit early. The next day we didn't have much planned either. We hung out at the house most of the day, and that evening my dad and I decided to go see a movie. I'd been wanting to see Deep Impact, and my dad agreed to go see it. The movie didn't blow us away by any means, but it was alright. The next day we went hiking in the mountains, so that evening everyone was really tired again, except for my dad and me. We still wanted to do something. While everyone else headed into the living room after dinner, my dad and I decided to make plans for the night while finishing up the dishes. "So what are we gonna do, son? How about a movie?" my dad said. "Again already?" I replied. My dad chuckled while scrubbing a plate. "Yeah, I know we just saw Godzilla recently, but I thought you wanted to see Deep Impact. You want to go?" What? I was so confused. It was true that we recently saw Godzilla together, but it was like a week before vacation. Did he completely forget that we just saw Deep Impact last night, or was it some kind of joke? Yeah, that's what it had to be, one of his unfunny dad jokes. Dad, early onset Alzheimer's? We just saw that movie yesterday. I shot this joke right back to him as if to say, "Drop the act, Dad, quit screwing with me." But he gave me a quizzical look. "What are you talking about?" my dad asked in a helter-skelter voice. I laughed, half sarcastic, half dumbfounded. "Dad, stop that. We just saw Deep Impact last night, remember? Elijah Wood and that other girl escaping in the mountains to avoid the tidal wave created by the meteor?" My dad was equally perplexed, but he just started drying his hands and suddenly smiled. He thought he just figured it all out. Wait, you spent the night over at Bill's a few days ago. You must have gone to see that movie with him. That's what you're remembering, is that right? I stared at him, mouth agape. It's true that I spent the night with my best friend a few days before we left for vacation, but we did not go see a movie together that night. But that didn't matter anyway. I knew for a fact that my dad and I saw Deep Impact the previous night. I walked out of the room to find the rest of the family. Surely someone else could corroborate the story. My dad was just pulling my leg like he always does. I found my mom, sister, aunt, and younger cousin in the living room. I addressed my mom with total confidence. Mom, Dad and I went to see a movie last night, right? Mom looked up from the quilt she was sewing. No, honey, we were all here, remember? We played Taboo and Pictionary. I stared at her. Are you okay? She asked. No, that was our first night here. Last night, Dad and I went and saw Deep Impact, right? My mouth was still open and my eyes were getting even wider. I looked at my sister. Dad and I left the house last night, right? Looking up from her game of Candyland with her cousin, my sister said, no, we were all here, remember? We beat you in Taboo. She pointed to herself and my aunt, and I just stood in the middle of the room and stared. This was insane. Honey, you must have jet lag, said my mom. We were all here last night. I thought you wanted to go see a movie tonight. We saw a movie last night. We saw Deep Impact last night, I yelled, getting seriously frustrated with this ridiculous joke. Son, we didn't go to a movie last night. My dad was standing in the doorway between the living and dining rooms, and he seemed worried. So did my mom. Everyone was staring at me, even my 5-year-old cousin. I was starting to get uncomfortable, especially from my aunt's concerned look. This was the first time I had seen her in 3 years, and I didn't want her to think I was turning into a weirdo. I've never been very good at handling conflict, and I'm usually quick to give in. I decided it wasn't worth it to keep arguing and said exactly what I still did not believe. Okay, all this traveling must have confused me. Maybe I did see that movie with Bill a while ago. That relieved the tension in the room, which was my only goal. Come on, son. We don't have to see Deep Impact if you don't want to. We can see whatever you'd like. My dad grabbed his keys, I nodded, and followed him out the door. We decided to see The Truman Show. I liked it much better than Deep Impact, which I still knew I saw the previous night. We didn't talk about this incident for the rest of the vacation. I didn't want to bring it up. It made me frustrated, and honestly, it also made me feel a bit stupid. I started having serious doubts about my awareness. I began to self-consciously second-guess everything I said the rest of the vacation, not wanting to sound like an idiot and get strange looks again. I still had a wonderful time the rest of the week, but this glitch never left the back of my mind. When we got back from vacation, I met up with Bill at his house. We were tossing a football in his backyard, and I casually brought up seeing The Truman Show in Colorado. I made sure to mention that it was a better movie than Deep Impact, dropping hints. He didn't respond. Didn't I see Deep Impact with you, or was that with someone else? I tried to make this sound as relaxed as possible, but in reality I was very anxious to hear his answer. No, I haven't seen that movie yet, he replied. I had mixed feelings after hearing that response. I was hoping he'd say no, so I knew I wasn't going crazy, but on the other hand, I was slightly hoping he'd say we'd seen it together so this mystery would be solved. I didn't feel like going into detail with him about what happened in Colorado, as it still made me feel stupid. So I pretended to shrug it off and mumbled about how I must have seen it with another friend. The movie came out on video a few months later. I rented it and watched it again. Yes, I remembered everything about it, and as I watched the VHS tape, I even remembered a conversation my dad and I had about the movie after we exited the theater. I showed the movie to him and asked if he'd remember the movie at all, and if he'd remembered us talking about it in the car afterwards. He still brushed the whole thing off as if it were a joke and stuck to the idea that I saw it with Bill or another friend. I still have no satisfying explanation for this. I am positive I saw that movie with Dad in Colorado, but no one else thinks we did. Either I'm really confused, my family is really confused, or there truly was some kind of glitch in the Matrix.
Disappearing Man, posted in the Glitch in the Matrix subreddit by Jacket Chain. This happened about 12 years ago. I was at my cousin's house playing PS2. My aunt got mad at him because he was being a lazy little girl sitting at home doing nothing all day, so we went out. We were walking along this unfinished road, very broad, like 4 lanes, and we saw this dude walking in the opposite direction toward us. As we were walking and talking to each other, the guy just disappeared. He was literally 10 feet away from us. I have no idea what happened that day. Both of us were so confused. We still talk about it sometimes.